What we're going to talk about today is simple basic principles, and that's how I got all this information. Didn't score really well in school, had a rough time, seemed like I couldn't understand anything. After I got out of school, I kept studying, I kept reading, researching, applying, and then I realized the kind of things that I was doing as I got older in life. I realized that I went back to the basic things, and you win with the basic things. And there's been famous coaches that have retired in the past from football and other sports, that they ask them at the end, how did they have such a successful season and have so many wins and all of that stuff. And they said, I went by the basic principles and we did that every day. Well, I took that to heart and I went back to the basic principles and everything I could find, whatever it was. It might sound crazy, but go back to the basics and changing a tire, and you can change a tire. You just don't start in the middle of something and accomplish something great. You start at the beginning, you understand what you're doing, you figure out why you're doing it, and you don't be stuck on dummy. Well, through the years, like I say, the football thing where someone retired, I think it's like Vince Lombardi or one of them guys that said that. Well, you take these things to heart. And then, for example, some other principles. They searched the country one time for the smartest person in the country, and they had all these people take tests, and I believe it was down to 2 people in each state. And they gave them this test and gave them a certain amount of time, and those tests that you just hate to take. And one guy got finished early and scored the best out of the whole country. And he lived in Michigan, and from what I understand, he was just a bartender. He was like a bouncer or something at a bar. Well, he didn't only finish the test and score the highest, he went on and created more questions and then gave the answer. Now, to me, that's a brilliant person. And that principle of going further than what you should do, or understanding beyond what someone's trying to get you to understand, is like a genius. And so then I realize that, hey, you could create a genius principle and people could study better if they use your concept. So here it goes. If you research anything that you can think of and you take it to 7 steps, let's say, or you make 7 phone calls, or you work or research for 7 weeks, or whatever it is, by the time you get to the end, you'll be the leading authority on whatever it is. It's worked so well with me that you can see my other videos and you can understand that somehow I got this information. It isn't because I'm smarter than anybody. It's I use these principles. I'll study an hour, 2 hours a day in the summer, maybe. In the winter, I'll get in 3 or 4 hours, and I'll take breaks in between, and I'll keep all these files, and I'll save all this information I find, and I'll label it so I can find it later. And I have this vast array of information. And then when I walk out that door and I go do something, I have all that information to come back on. And the experience that I get from things are because I applied the basics. Now, some more basics are, I call it this, and you can see it on the video, but it's hard to explain. It's like counter offer. It's like offer and counter offer. If you have a car for sale for $1,300, and I say, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $900 for it. Doesn't that cancel your $1,300? And if you say no, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you $12. Doesn't that cancel my $900? Now, where that comes in is when you're dealing with court, or you're dealing with presentments, IRS stuff, tickets, court summons, whatever it is. They give it to you and you have to deal with it. So whatever's on top is important, and that's what you have to deal with. So then if you do a legal concept, and you can go look up legal concept. Go look that up. Read that stuff. Read them books. It'll give you an idea of how they work. And then if you find a legal concept and you put on top of that, for example, the executor appointment notice, well, then they have to deal with what's on top. Now, how are they going to do that when it's a showstopper? It exerts your authority. It puts you in the proper position. It cancels their fake authority that they are presuming to have, and it stops all that hocus pocus in the courtroom. Now they have to deal with that. How are they going to deal with that? Because you're exposing to the whole world that their executor is null and void. And if you look at the 1666 Testa Vi Act, you know, once someone comes alive or is found to be alive, then the administration is void, if you look at that, about that. Well, so this is a concept, and whatever's on top is what has to be dealt with. So, you know, they put in something, you put in something, they put in something, well, you've entered into a contract and you lose. Well, once you put something on there and you do the vital thing, and I'm not talking about filing 15 different motions and briefs and whatever it is you're going to put in. You find that one thing and learn before you go approach anything like this, like any kind of legal issue. But there's another principle, and I didn't come up with this. You know, it's asking questions. And if you ask questions, you're creating the contract and they can't complete theirs. That's a concept. Well, you know, offer and acceptance, they're going to ask you questions. You know, like, what do they say? Why do you have to go to the police station? It's because they want to ask you some questions. Okay? So they have that concept down really well. And what I'm trying to do is get through some concepts. You can listen to the video, you know, more than once. And you can understand that they have a lot of education, whoever it might be. And offer and acceptance seems to be where people have problems. They'll get the presentment, they'll throw it down, they'll accept it by just sitting there. That's a concept. That's a basic principle that they do every day. So as you go along and you learn, you figure out these concepts, and that's what you go by. For example, Pavlov, and you may not know who Pavlov is. Pavlov, it was the guy that rang the bell and the dogs would come and they would eat, he would feed them, and they would slobber, and it caused things to happen mentally and physically with the dogs. And then the next day he would ring the bell, and then he would feed them, and they would just be out of control. They were hungry, they was there, he rang the bell. Then after that he rang the bell, but there was no food. When them dogs came, they slobbered everywhere, uncontrollably, mentally and physically. They couldn't take it. Well, them principles are applied to us as men and women, and we don't realize. So that's a concept too. So I think you're kind of getting the point. Okay, concepts. You can get your life in order, and some of those concepts are: be responsible. Like if your life is all like turned around backwards and you can't understand why you're in all these positions, it's because the concept of being responsible isn't applied. The concept of being on time, nobody does it. Everybody I know will tell you that I am the most dependable person in the world. That's why I have all this education, because I got up, I went and did it, I set up time every day. I reviewed issues of other people and helped them out, and I'll tell you, it's physically and mentally demanding. So these basic principles of being responsible, being on time, having the money for what you're doing, not causing injuries, these are concepts in life, really. And these principles, you develop these principles and concepts to honor yourself and to bring yourself to a higher position as a man or a woman, and you suck in all the honor to become as honorable as possible through your life before you die. And you achieve this level because you utilize these principles and you learn these concepts and you went by these concepts is how you get that honorable position. Okay? And there's some people that have so much of these things that I'm telling you about, that they have an old soul, and it's because of these things. And if you have any kind of problems and you have everything backwards and you're sick and you're doing it to yourself because you don't have concepts and basic principles in your life. And the basic principle, there's other basic principles about, and you apply them and you don't apply them sometimes. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not, there's all these things. I mean, you guys know. You guys know they're there. You just don't recognize, and you're like asleep. So this is a call to wake up and to turn everything around and do these principles every day in everything you do. And as you see my videos and you go through my videos, you'll see a picture of someone that's been through it all. And I'm trying to pass on this to my fellow man, and the women out there, so they'll come alive. And it's a call to come alive. And you just need to recognize the basics. That's all it is. As simple as it can be. Go back to kindergarten, start over, put time into researching, find the good stuff. Don't listen to the all the garbage. Find the people that know what they're talking about and that take it slow, and you get your education and you work your way up and you make yourself a better person. Okay? And a man thinketh, if you look on YouTube and you look that up, there's a very long, I can't think of the gentleman's name, but there's a very long thing on there that this gentleman explains, that very thing is you upgrade and you fix your life and you do the most responsible things for everybody, like it or not. I do things every day that I don't want to do and I don't like to do, but I go do it because it's the responsible thing. It's ingrained in my mind, body, and soul, and that's just the way it is. And if you have all these things backwards in your life, that's my advice, is go back to the simple basic things, read things, don't get excited, don't go out and do a whole bunch of stuff and file a bunch of paperwork and really become a radical or a belligerent person or anything like that. Straighten your life out and worry about you and understand that you're probably the problem. And not to be disrespectful, but I've been in that position and I harmed a lot of people and I affected a lot of people. I mean, not violently, but I affected a lot of people in my life, and I've realized, and I'm trying to make up for that, and I'm trying to be a better man, and it can be done if you understand there's concepts, there's basic principles, and you go back and you look things up. And you can start with the dictionary and you can go through these words. For example, the word live. You don't know what it is off the top of your head because you haven't been doing it. It's mental and physical experiences because you can't slow down long enough to enjoy life. And that's what it is. So basically go grow a brain. Look stuff up, read stuff, find out about what you're trying to learn, and by the time you're done, you'll have things like I have. You can take things in my videos, there's concepts all over the place, and basic principles to things. So start an investigation, become a man or woman, get this knowledge down, straighten out your life, and do the basic things, and learn what you're doing before you attempt to do anything. So many people have done UCC1s, accepted for value, treasury accounts, all this stuff, and they're all out of line. Now, it's not to say these aren't viable processes. They are, If you don't know the basics, why do you start at the 12th grade or college when you don't even know what's clear back here? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. That's why nothing is successful. No one that I've ever met in my life, and it's been a long time, have ever collected a dime from any of those processes. I've done processes for a couple years before and helped people, and they never collected a dime. Nothing ever happened except they were labeled a paper terrorist. You know, don't just file things and put things in and come up with these wild ideas from the videos. This is going to take you a long time, and it's about 30 years for me, so I believe I can speak on this. So get back to the basics. Give me a call, and I'm available about any time after 10 and before 10 at night. You know, view all my other videos. You know, this is a real good place to start. And I'll have a donate link down here, please, if you can donate. And give me a call. Here's my phone number, 419-560-6337. And please don't waste my time. Be for real when you call me. Keep your appointment or whatever we set up. And just be real. I'll talk to you later.